we think 5 to 10 years. And so let's try to dissect it. So Nico Harrison has, for not very long, been the general manager of Dallas, and he's a risk taker. He did the Kyrie move. Everybody criticized him. It worked. He made that big move at the trade deadline last year. It got him into the finals. He's taken big swings. He's different. But this feels like an absolutely egregiously bad move. So why did he make the move? Well, let's start with this. I think the reason that Michael Jordan is the most popular basketball player of all time, Kobe Bryant's up there too, is that relentlessness, that work ethic. That's not Luka. He's often in poor shape and is a lousy defender, and he's hurt increasingly more and more and more due to his bad conditioning. So there's a little Shaq in Luka. And the Lakers moved off Shaq, right? They had a choice. They took Kobe, the relentless worker. So is that the reason they moved off him? The Maverick owners are staring down the barrel of $74 million a year contract. And he doesn't defend. He's hard on teammates, but won't play defense. There's a little Barkley. There's a little Shaq. He's not the hardest worker. The max contract now is punitive if you get the wrong guy. Maybe the owners look at Embiid's mess in Philly or the Kawhi saga with the Clippers and said, new owners, no thank you, not interested. Now, that does not give you an excuse to give away Luka for 1 first-round pick. But I do think if there would have been 3 first-round picks, Anthony Davis and maybe an Austin Reeves, okay, should we consider that phone call? I can make some sense of it because I don't think Luka is the perfect player. He has now had 3 calf injuries in 4 years, same calf, hasn't played since Christmas, missed the last 2 training camps. There's stuff here, and clearly a general manager who's willing to take massive swings, and he has hit on the Kyrie move. It's been a hit. He hit on the trade deadline move. There's things here. I see Luka as being made out as the perfect player, and there's a little Shaq, a prodigy, but the Lakers eventually said, we're going to take the guy that works harder.
Okay, let's talk about this. There's so many different ways to unpack this that, when this news first broke, it was just like, yeah, I gotta continue to process it, like a lot of you guys as well. Whether Luka should have been traded or not, or whether the Lakers are benefit from getting Luka, the trade itself is just weird. Because we've seen other players, Rudy Gobert, Mikal Bridges, like there's so many other players that got such a bigger haul than this. And an older AD for Luka, who Luka's like clearly in his prime, with plenty of years ahead of him, it just doesn't make sense. And I've been hard on Luka. I criticized Luka all last season, talking about his work ethic, him constantly complaining to the refs, like all the problems. So you could tell the Dallas Mavericks were exhausted with him. They were exhausted with him, with his behavior, his antics on the court, his work ethic. But the guy obviously produced. Like, that's always the hard thing. But he also obviously produced. He helped lead the team to the finals. But then now this season, he's injured, he's banged up, continuing to have problems. And I just wonder if it was just a situation where they're like, we're just done. We want out of this. Even though he's obviously an amazing, elite, special player. The question mark is this. He's young and is banged up and has, undeniably attitude issues, behavioral issues. But nothing that's so extreme where he's getting into trouble off the court, right? Getting in trouble at clubs and, trying to live that life. He is so young that there's still such room for maturity. There's room for him to grow and mature. Now, I get where, like, you're faced with this decision where, like, you know what, we don't have any more time to figure out will he mature. We have to either pay him all this money or not. It's just hard to grasp if the Dallas Mavericks really knew something that everyone else doesn't, where they're just really like, you know what, this guy is great, but like, we truly, like, our conclusion is we truly do not see this going anywhere positively over the next 3-4 years. We need to do something different. But the only way, like, that this would still make sense, though, is if AD was like 27, or if you were getting now, like, I don't know, the number 1 overall pick, and then you had Wemby, about to be drafted or something. Like, I don't know, it's something that, like, really made sense for the future. Because it's not like this team has, Colin said before, he goes, oh, I think that the Mavs now will be able to compete for a championship over these next couple of years. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe. Again, if Kyrie was 27, 28, then I could maybe understand. It's like, hey, man, we got prime Kyrie. Luka is kind of having all these issues, behaviorally, injuries. He's not on the court enough. We got a prime Kyrie. We got to find someone who can ball now. And maybe that would have been then like an 80. Like that's where I'm still kind of wrapping my head around all of this. And the fact that the Lakers didn't have to give more than what they got, because at the end of the day, it practically was a Luka for AD swap. I mean, at the end of the day, that is essentially what it was. And that just doesn't seem to just 100% make sense to me. It doesn't. And a lot of people are like, oh, you know what? Like, the Mavs won this trade in the short term. The Lakers won it in the long term. And now people are like, oh, well, Luka, LeBron will rub off on Luka. And, like, I don't know. I don't know if that's true. That's a nice sentiment to believe that, but, like, I don't know. Maybe not. I think if you're a Lakers fan, it's worth the risk, because I think you were looking at your team like, what are we doing here? LeBron is obviously at the tail end of his career. AD is only going to be so much for you in terms of being your superstar player moving into the future. And now you, without a shadow of doubt, have Luka. The question is injury concerns, attitude, behavior, etc. But yeah, I mean, it does give you something to be excited about. You do have that potential now. And I always talk about the importance of combining hope with action. And now the Lakers have hope and action. They have it. And they have an interesting team right now. Granted, defensively, it's going to be kind of a mess. But they have a team right now that still is going to be interesting to watch. Once Luka comes back, watching Luka with LeBron will be fascinating to watch and entertaining to watch. And then now moving forward, even if we just fast forward 3 years from now, I mean, like, Luka's going to be like, what, like 28? I mean, like, that's really when these players truly start entering into their dominant era. And then LeBron will be gone, and then it's just going to be like, I don't know, you're going to have this Luka-led team. And again, maybe within the next few years, like, he grows, he matures. Maybe, maybe actually going to LA will actually help him through that maturity process. There's no real way to know, honestly. I do think Luka needs to mature. I really do. And like I said that all last season. And I think it really held them back. And it held them back in the playoffs. Because even when they finally won and got some momentum in the playoffs, you had someone like Jason Kidd and other people from the Mavs be like, yeah, I credit, Luka for stop crying to the refs every 5 seconds. Like, I mean, like, Jason Kidd essentially said that out loud. Was like, I think we were able to win this game because, like, we just focused on the game and not complaining to the refs. So again, I just also wonder how much the Dallas Mavs, talk to someone like a Kid, or they really kind of tried to figure out, like, is this truly the long term? Because the one fear that you have if you're the Mavs or even the Lakers, I guess depending on which angle you're looking at it, is if he's still this great player. Yeah, injury concerns, but what player these days doesn't have injury concerns, quite frankly? And they were just like, we just don't want to deal with this. Nah, we don't want to deal with this. We need to find better, better behaved players, or players that have a stronger work ethic. And it's like, yeah, in the perfect world, everybody would be able to draft a LeBron James, but, like, that's not the way it goes. You're going to have players that are going to be like Luka, and sometimes you just have to kind of swallow that. It just is what it is. And if they decided to kind of hit the eject button because they just didn't want to have to deal with a difficult personality, that's a tough pill to swallow. But again, if you're a Lakers fan, you're concerned that Luka is so difficult, that it's so brutal, that this team is literally like, get this guy out of here. And now you're welcoming that into your franchise. So I don't know, man. This is definitely one of those things where I think there's so much more than meets the eye that we just don't have the information, and even any of the insiders are not really saying enough that really feels that makes this trade give it more sense. Like it's still hard. You know, we can talk about like what it means for Luka playing with the Lakers and how he matches up and how AD matches up with Dallas, but that's what I'm saying. Like it's beyond that. But it's beyond that. But we don't have all the information. We don't have all the whys, and that's what makes this kind of so murky. And again, he talks about how the Lakers moved on from Shaq, and it's like, yeah, they had Kobe. They had Kobe. You know, if Dallas Mavericks maybe had SGA and Luka, and they were like, okay, we're moving on from Luka, like again, like, or they already had Wemby, and now they're moving on from Luka, like then it would make a little bit more sense. But they don't have that. Again, you can't argue that that's Kyrie. He's too old. He's at the tail end of his career as well. If Kyrie was 26, then I could say, okay, I could see that maybe. But like, you know, Kyrie's not even necessarily all about that either. He's all about his all extracurriculars. So I don't know. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What did you guys all think about this trade? How are you making sense of it? Who do you think won it? Why do you think it happened? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.